Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you, Samina. I'll come directly to question. Um, After the fall of Kabul till today, um, the sense within the Taliban that they have taken over by force, and that um, the whole country is under their control and they remain the strongest force, and there's no one else within the country to challenge them. They don't really need to negotiate with anybody. Even if they opt, maybe not now, in the future, for inclusivity of some sort, it doesn't have to be as a result of a negotiation. It is what they can give out to others. That is what is prevailing. From the international community, again, there's not much of a pressure on that front either. It's mostly focused on the immediate issues, which is, again, girls' education, women's work, which is certainly making lots of news for the right reasons. So pressure on that front, engagement on counter-terrorism particularly, focus on ISIS and focus on Al-Qaeda and other terrorist groups still believed to be to have some elements in the country, and only in passing mentions inclusivity as if that is important to the international community. On the other side, the non-Taliban political leadership remains fragmented, even politically. For them to be reckoned as a coordinated, organized force backed up by people is not there. And no doubt for the right reason. Again, as much as there is a lack of a larger acceptance of the Taliban by the general public is also angry at the political leadership who led the state to collapse. Like I said yesterday, the Afghan state collapsed not because of the strength of the Taliban, but because of the weakness of the Afghan political leadership. And that bitterness is there. Having said all that, I don't really foresee any serious negotiations because Taliban do not see the need for it. And on the other side, I do not see any sort of united front. I do not see that, at least in the next year or so. But in the longer term, I do believe that the Taliban will find it difficult. Not only that the way they are going, international legitimacy and international recognition is something they desire and they will have to desire, and it's not coming through. But they will also find it difficult that internally governing, fighting a war is much easier than governing a country. And that doing it alone is not that easy. And there will be opening up. I remain optimistic, and that optimism keeps us in Kabul. And that optimism pushes us to engage with the Taliban, even though if they don't listen today, to show flexibility for inclusivity, political inclusivity, and again, flexibility on issues that matters to the Afghan population, education, work, opportunities, freedoms, basic rights and all that. But the fact that we could get that audience to cross our, so to get our points crossed, get a conversation out, that by itself is, I see as positive. I look at it from that. And the further we go, in the more conversation we have, again, the more flexibility, at least in the discussions, we see, not yet in actions, but our hope is that eventually it will lead to that. I'm going to repeat just that one sentence from yesterday, that the Taliban are a reality of our country, and they should be accepted as a reality by the international community, and I think they have been accepted as a reality by the international community. In fact, before the collapse, too much of a reality, perhaps. And therefore, the same way that I discussed that engagement with the Taliban nationally was important, engagement by the international community with the Taliban is also important. We need to find a way to again live together with the Taliban, govern together with the Taliban. Another cycle of war is the last thing that the Afghan people need, and the Afghan people have the appetite for. With respect to the international community, at least since the collapse of the state last year, I would say they've gotten it largely right. The engagement is there. Assistance to the Afghan population continues. The UN offices have been strengthened. Other NGOs are there, and they encourage international organizations, NGOs, to operate in the country. Restrictions that will affect the lives of people more than what it has already been affected, have not been imposed. That's good. When it comes to deals, the Afghan population will have to be central to that. The international recognition has not come forward, and I think that's a good stand. It needs to be conditionalized on national legitimacy of the government in Kabul. And the national legitimacy comes not only by sort of true inclusivity to the extent possible, but also delivering on the basic rights of women, but also men. We have to say that it's right now what we have in Kabul. It is certainly their policies with respect to women are extremely restrictive, but non-Taliban men are also excluded from opportunities. They can get educations, but jobs is within the government is not something that they could hope for. So internationals will have to take at least now, we hope, they didn't before the collapse, but now the Afghan, the legitimacy, the national legitimacy, and the rights and opportunities of the Afghan population central to whatever deals they make.